All right. Now I want to deal with statistics real quick. I've had a lot of talk to talk about today, and I'm going to top it off with this. Statistics. It seems like people are quick to believe statistics. I mean, real quick to not only believe it, regurgitate it, to repeat it or spew it during a debate. When you personally haven't even held it up to scrutiny, to simple scrutiny. The type of scrutiny that's legit, that's acceptable, and that's possible. Most people don't even reflect on the statistics at all. They hear it and they immediately believe them. Why? Don't you know that when it's time to create statistics, there's a lot of people in the world who look at that as an opportunity to get creative. To get creative and shape other people's perspective. That's how a lot of other people look. When they say, hey, we want you to gather the number of people in this country, the number of people in a certain group. We want you to gather the information about crime in this country, HIV statistics, etc. When you give people a task like that, there's a lot of people in the world who look at that as an opportunity to shape the perception of the world. So we should be slow to believe everything we hear or read. Some people think that I don't hold anything up to scrutiny. I don't know why. Because I do a lot of that live while I'm here. I hold my beliefs up to scrutiny to prove that they're legit. But anyways, one statistic that right now I can't co-sign, and that's HIV statistics. I can't co-sign that, especially after 2020. I'll never forget what happened in 2020. I'll never forget it. And because of that, I'll always question statistics when it has to do with Black Americans. Now, the stats say that Black Americans are disproportionately affected by HIV since the epidemic's beginning. And they say that disparity is deepened over time. Although we represent 12% of the population, they say that we account for a much larger share of HIV diagnosis, 43%. 43%. You're saying Black Americans account for 43% of all HIV cases? And we're only 12% of the population? I got to question that. So now, if I question this, then naturally I got to question everything that's within this. You know, like the HIV cases that Black females lead in HIV cases. I don't know about that. Now, just a reminder, in 2020, COVID broke. And what happened during that time was it was seen as a disease that was infecting Europeans. And I bet by now a lot of people done forgot about that. When it first broke and started spreading, Black people thought they was immune to it. What nobody we knew was having no COVID. We literally thought for a minute We can't catch it. Just ain't nothing but Europeans catching it. Y'all remember that? Oh, you remember that? That bold-faced lie. And this thing was spreading through Europe. And overnight, it became a black thing. And it started in Europe, right? It magically came to the United States. And then magically became a black American thing. Just like AIDS magically floated from Africa, leaving all the primitive Africans and coming over to their cousins over here in the United States. Whatever infects them has to infect us. Nah. And then they said that, black Americans are getting it because they have relations with their brethren in Africa, and it's spreading through Africa. Nah. I gotta question this. Just like I question the population of the United States. I don't just question the black American population. I question the population in general. I don't believe they have an accurate count of how many white Americans there are, black Americans there are, and none of the immigrants. You got no accurate account on everybody. They just know a bunch of people live here. That's it. That's it. They got a vague estimate on the population. We don't know what our population is. That's just what I believe. I think that has no credibility. If you basing the population on people who fill out that census form, or on people whose name is on a lease, then you got an inaccurate count. And it could very well be double of what you think. It could be an extra person living in everybody's household. You don't know. So we don't know the population of this country. And black Americans definitely do not make up no 12% of this country. Y'all think, anybody who thinks that, I feel sorry for you. Especially if you grew up in the United States and you've been to several cities in the United States. Do you frequent large cities, urban areas in this country? I've been to several, and they all look the same. They're all flooded. Ain't no way black people make up 12% of the cities I've been to. The large cities, all of ones I've been to here in Ohio, Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, Dayton, Detroit. How we gonna make up 12% of this country? Yet several large cities, we make up like 50, 60, 75%. How's that possible? The majority of people in the United States live in big cities, live in urban areas, like 85% of the whole population. Ain't no 12% of the population gonna make up that large a percentage of so many large cities. Philadelphia, New York, every single large city you can name. And name one of them cities. And name one of them cities is people looking like black people, 12% of that population. We constantly lied to. Y'all have no idea. Constantly lied to. Now look at this. I gotta question this. I always question crime statistics. Now homicide is probably more verifiable, but I question that. I question all statistics when it paint black Americans in a negative light. And I got the right to. It's been shown to be lies too much and manipulated. And even if, listen and understand me here, most people locked up is locked up for drugs, some type of drug charge. Nobody gonna tell me on average black people use or sell drugs more than other groups. Yeah, ain't nobody gonna convince me of that. I grew up knowing much better than that. Another thing with these HIV statistics, this idea and this stereotype, harmful stereotype that black males are gangsters and criminals and thugs. We just want to knock you across the head and take your purse. with black females, it's this stereotype that they're loose, that they're easy, that they rack up a lot of bodies. When they're young, they run through a whole bunch of men, and that's why they lead in HIV cases, right? They're talked about as the scarlet, the whore of Babylon. They're talked about as the most loose women in the country, right? Here in the United States. But listen, man, I've been in the United States my whole life. That's a lie. Yeah, there are a number of loose black women out here. Yes, I'm not denying that. But there's equally a number of loose women of all races. I mean all races here in the United States. If they coming up here in the United States and you're a female, I don't care what your race is, most likely you're going to be loose. That's what this country promotes. That's what this country promotes. What's wrong with you? You think somehow they avoid it? They sidestep it, only affect black females? Nah. And I'm telling you, dude, my mother moved us out of the hood. As I've talked about several times, tried to move us out the hood. Moved us to this place, I swear, this place was like 99% white. 99.5% white. Only a couple black people. It was like one other black person at the school I went to. Just all white, everything. Man, we moved up there, let me tell you something. Them white girls was throwing it at me. You understand me? It was easier for me to creep around the corner with these white girls. They was throwing it at a kid. What are you talking about? Black women in America do not hold the title when it comes to sleeping, or they don't. Some of the most resistance in my life came from black females. Now, I'm not bragging, but it was never much resistance. But the little bit I did deal with, I'm not bragging. The little bit I did deal with, it was from black women. What are y'all talking about? No. Go on, you can say that. You can say black women are loose. They sleep around. They got too many bodies. Fine, I agree. We all got too many bodies at the end of the day. But don't tell me you somehow figured out that one race of women sleep around more than the rest. Stop. I'm telling you right now, I don't know. And how am I going to find out? We don't know nobody's sleeping around habits. I'm not about to pretend or even suggest that one group got a higher percentage of loose women than the other. That is a dangerous stereotype that everybody should be smart enough not to co-sign with. You should never push false information. And if you pushing false information, or at least information that you know you haven't verified, then you're doing the exact same thing you've been accusing black women of doing. Spreading lies just to demonize their image. And that will make us no better than them. Just as childish as them. That's just mad petty. That's not how a leader moves. Leaders don't move like that. We got to stay grounded on facts. And let me tell you, man, I had a easy time, and I'm not bragging about this. I'm ashamed of this. I had an easy time with women. Now, I got dissed by a couple of them. It wasn't that many. Growing up, I had an easy time with women. That include Mexican women. And these women was getting it in. Many of these Mexican and white women, many of them are well known. Well known for giving it up. Don't play dumb. Like black women got this advanced whoredom. Stop that. Lord. I can tell the truth about black males or black females. I'm not about to sit up and lie or make no wild guess that I know for sure I haven't verified. And it's virtually impossible to verify. How you going to verify that? That one group of women sleep around more than, how you going to validate that? Me pushing no goofy statistics like that. So these, yeah, I don't co-sign with these either. Now this is interesting. I saw this, I'm like, what is this? And this is recent. They're talking about recent dates. Prevalence rate of violent crime in the United States from 2014 to 2022 by race/ethnicity. Now, white is the blue, the light blue. Black or African American is the dark blue. Hispanic Latino is the gray. Asian is the red. And the green is other. Who is the other? Who is the other leading in violent crime that we don't know about? That we haven't identified? We probably need to identify, don't we? Who is that? Now, I know some people saying it's the immigrants. Well, if it is, I'd like to know. That don't look safe at all. Now, is this accurate? Let me ask the foreigner, the immigrants here. If you're illegal, do you co-sign with this? Probably not. You're saying, no, I'm looking for a job. Well, the dark blue line is for black Americans. And I question this. I question this too. Listen, man, I grew up bouncing from hood to hood. I only wanted, when I would go to a city, I only wanted to be in the hoods. Do you understand that? And I've gone to several cities. I know hood people. Most of them ain't shooting no guns. And I'm talking about in the belly of the hood. Most of them ain't out acting no fool. Many of them are on the honor roll in the hood. Many of them is on the, doing well in school. Many promising citizens of the U.S. come from the hoods. I don't know what's going through y'all's heads. Don't ever, ever, ever talk about the hood like ain't nothing but degenerates come out of there. I mean, a huge a percentage of productive black people came out the mud. And they ain't popping, most of them ain't popping no guns, they ain't in no gang. And even if they're in the gang, a lot of people in gangs, they still ain't doing nothing. They still just goofy, smoking weed every day, drinking syrup, just sitting around being a bum. Hey, they talk like we just got gang wars going. It don't even pop like that. It don't even pop like that. Got a big army of gangsters out here. Get out of here. I can't with these. And of course, can't forget the number of slaves that came over here to the United States as slaves. Oh boy. Like I said, not going to go over it again. They said that the first few black Americans, how many was it? 10 to 12? Ain't that what they say? 10 to 12 were sold. I thought it was more than that. And then in like a few little years, it was thousands of them. Stop it. They just started inbreeding. They would start breeding with each other. You got 10, 20, 40 black Americans. They just started inbreeding, huh? Was perfectly healthy. Come on, tell me more about this slave trade of y'all's. Y'all like to talk about. When did you now? I went over this in the video. I made a whole video about this, and I used this as the thumbnail. Who really believes that? They arrived over here. Oh, it's just a few of them. And then it was like in what? Like 50 years, it was thousands. How you go from a couple dozen to thousands in basically one generation? How that happen? Where do that happen? Where did that happen? In like 100 years, they went from a couple dozen to thousands. Get out of here. Y'all just went hauling, going back to Africa, bringing them back real quick, huh? That 1,000 had to have been all of the ones you brought over here. And you ain't made all them trips in that short little time. They did not have resources like that. Again, if they did, they wouldn't need slavery if they was balling out like that. I do believe they enslaved some of the blacks that came over from Africa that was helping them. Just giving them maps, navigating over here, helping to translate for them. Yeah, I believe they enslaved some of them. Some of them that they was working with over here, turned on them, enslaved some of them. But I believe the primary people they enslaved was the people that was already over here. They enslaved the natives, and they made a big mistake because the natives knew the land way better than they did, and they were able to set up acres and acres of land where they were free. This established a whole community. They knew how to isolate. They knew how to counter firearms. You got to know the land, the terrain, the area, the territory to do stuff like that. To be able to set up communities where people with rifles and these strange weapons ain't trying to come in there. I'm not buying that they came over from Africa and figured out this land like that. That sounds like some stuff only people who've been here for a long time was able to pull off. The history of the swamps is that's like a golden era, a golden age of Black American history. So I question a whole lot of stuff. Don't ever bring no little goofy statistics. I don't care what it's about. Don't tell me nothing about how black people lead in nothing. Especially when you got when cops, ain't nothing regulating cops. They can go up, set up shop in anybody's neighborhood. The percentage of people who we see in the jails don't mean nothing. That much of that have to do with who the cops was targeting. Don't give us that. You don't have no automated system of busing criminals. Huh? Even though they probably got the technology, they could probably see right through your house. Something like that. They probably know all the drug dealers and just ain't arresting some of them. Well, anyway, that's my late night, early morning rant. I will catch y'all on the next.